So we were discussing last week feeling the presence of divine. So the presence of the divine is felt after as soon as we kind of, I should not say master. The mastering a chakra is I don't like to use that. Though a lot of people use that word, it's all about refinement. There is nothing called mastery. Sometimes we think mastery means we have full control over something. But in spirituality, the spirituality is all about giving away all the controls, which is antithesis of the human nature. Antithesis of any nature of any being to give away control. Correct? So we are always asking for control, possessions. You know what money brings? The power, control, certain control over life, which is required. So as far as the what do you call material life is concerned, transactional life is concerned, we need to have certain control. There we should not be giving up the control. But when it comes to the spiritual aspects, we have to give away all the control, right? So a lot of times people have felt that they have to give away the material control, and that's where the problems begin. That's not spirituality. So once you are in a meditative state, in conditioned by that meditation, then you are basically uh, giving away all the controls so that you can feel it full. You can completely immerse it in full. And when you come out in that condition, when we attend to the work, so the inner is always surrendered in a way, and the outer is always attending to the transactional plane. But what happens in that condition is that we don't form any impressions, or lack of the better word, karmas. We don't accumulate anything in that space on the consciousness. So we are clean all the time. That's how it will work. So when the feeling of the divine, how does that feeling is like? That's a difficult part. Am I feeling divine? So this is where the acceptance comes into the picture. The number one most important thing is trust yourself, trust the method. Here it's not about believing. Believing means, there's a problem. Faith is the right word for in spirituality. And what is faith? Faith means that which you have already experienced. Suppose if I can say I can lift something, I can lift my coffee mug. I have faith in it because I have already done it so many times every day, morning. I'm lifting my coffee cup, right? So that is faith. That means you have already experienced, you have already done it, felt it. That is faith. What I don't know, and if I want to have faith in it, then it becomes a belief. So here, whatever that feeling comes in your meditation, trust it. Feel that condition as divine. Once you trust that condition, it refines, it gets refined. If you say it is something else, "Oh, what I'm feeling is not the real thing, it is something else," then there is a problem. Then you can never feel the divine presence. Because we have this glorified idea of what the divine presence should be. But
I have a
without,
question about that.
yes, please go ahead.
Okay, let us assume that I feel something and I say that's divine, and it's not. Does
Why
it make any difference?
it makes a lot of difference. The moment it is not, then what are we meditating on?
we become that which we meditate on. So if we're meditating on something that we have faith in that's divine and it's not, then we're not connecting with the um, divine inner self.
So to me, divine is all inclusive. The moment you say divine, anything you feel is divine. So that's why this is the most, I mean, I'm glad you brought up this question for us to understand this aspect of divine. So, what is divine? There is no definition for it, honestly speaking. Nobody can put their finger on it and say this is divine. No one can do it. Even the greatest masters of the past, present, in the future, no one can do it. So, how do you understand divine? So, the simple definition is that which has no opposites. If it has no opposite, how can you say that this is not divine? It's impossible. Then the definition of divine itself fails there if you say this is not divine. That is why once I am meditating on the divine essence, if I am sitting with that thought, whatever comes to our state of mind or whatever the condition we feel is divine. There is no way we can say this is not divine because by definition it has no opposites. So that's why we are not swinging between the opposites when it comes to the divine presence. It is divine, but it needs to be refined more and more and more. So, this refinement is all about spiritual life. But what we felt in meditation is always divine because we are already meditating on it. If I'm not meditating on it, whatever I felt is the condition of where my mind is. If my mind is on work, I'm kind of feeling the conditions created by that related to that work. If I'm a surgeon, it's a different condition. If I'm a software engineer, I can afford a lot of bugs, mistakes. A surgeon cannot afford it. So it requires a different condition. Correct? So that's why when I am in meditation, if my objective of meditation is the divine itself, whatever comes to my mind is divine. Because divine is all inclusive. There is no exclusivity in divine. So does that make clear, Cliff?
Well, yes and no. I mean, I can always think of an opposite. If I feel like I am disoriented or unclear, then the opposite of that would be clarity, right? If
Correct.
I feel that if it's so subtle I could barely feel it, then the opposite of that is, something that's distinct or detectable, right?
So
So,
that's why we are calling it faith.
yeah.
I felt something. It is, I know I felt something, correct? Whatever it is. I'm not putting a definition to what I felt. If I am in meditation, whatever that feeling comes, so this is where the acceptance and the faith comes in, right? You trust that as a divine feeling. Hold on to it. But by tomorrow, it gets refined. This is a whole process we are subjecting ourselves to here. That's why if you are intellectually like saying this is not because and so reasons, right? Our logic always beats us, especially when it comes to this practice of meditation.
Well, see, I kind of assume, okay, this is feeling is, you know, bonding with the divine.
Yes.
But I don't know, but
Okay, so like,
I assume it. I guess I assume it is because it's nothing I feel during my conscious uh, uh, time.
right. So that's why, this is where, like I said, there are two things. I'm kind of contradicting myself when I'm saying this, right? I said, not even the greatest masters can put their finger and say, this is divine. I made that statement. And then I'm again making a statement, whatever you feel is divine. So there, you're still not putting the finger on it, but you're trusting that feeling. And you're also trusting yourself with the method and the practice and in yourself that it gets refined more and more. So it's a process. So while I'm in the process, so I mean, of course, everyone is in the process. Even the masters are in the process.
Well, I agree with that because I know there's a big difference in where I was, where I am today, and where I was even, say, 6 months ago.
Right. That's how it progresses. And progresses here means the refinement of that.
So I
Uh,
basically assume that I must be doing the right thing.
of course, of course, of course. Then why would I be wasting my time here, right? So then we'll go into this topic of poise. But thank you for bringing up that topic. It clarifies a lot of things. Poise, the feeling of the pervasiveness of the divine or a higher power kindles a feeling of acceptance. You remain poised during the time of calamities and troubles and times of joy and excitement. A sense of balance is paramount in this state. So, this means no undue attachment to anything. You expend only as much emotional energy as needed by the task. You also refrain from judging people and situations. An equal eye on all is appreciated here. So this is, I mean, there's a lot of things in this just one paragraph. Feeling of the pervasiveness of the divine. The pervasiveness, like I said in our last session, in meditation, when this consciousness comes in contact with the soul, that soul is nothing but the divine essence. When it comes in contact with that soul, that feeling, that condition is brought back into our mental state, our body mind consciousness from the deeper conscious state when we come out of meditation. Because that experience is carried out all the way to the body and mind. So when it carried all the way to the body and mind, we feel that pervasiveness, at least for now, in the entire body. And slowly, as it gets refined, it expands beyond the body. Then you feel that divine presence in your entire house. And slowly, you feel that divine presence in the entire community. This is what the expansion really means here. So, as you feel this, then what happens? Then it becomes an imperative state for your mind to get attached to, get hooked on to. That's the mind's quality. If I am watching TV, I don't know if somebody is passing by next to me. If my wife's, a lot of times when I'm watching TV, my wife keeps the dinner next to me, and I don't notice it for next 1 hour until she reminds me. This is a dinner we are not eating because I am engrossed in the TV. So the mind is always glued onto whatever it is put onto. It can only get distracted when another distraction comes. We think mind is always getting distracted, but that's not the nature of the mind. So once it glues onto that condition, it understands the real essence of that condition. Then whenever it get distracted, the sense of balance is lost. It automatically it wants to reach that balance because you already know that state. I've already always given this example. It's like when you are learning the bicycle as a kid. You cannot balance the bicycle. You are falling this way or that. And then slowly, within the week's time, you know how to balance your bicycle. Once you have balanced the bicycle, you don't fall that frequently unless it hits something or something really goes out of balance, correct? So you know how to maintain that balance once you know the balance point. That's what happens in our meditation, the first thing to attain that balance. And the second aspect is once you know the balance point, wherever the situations your emotional energy is getting diverted, you want to bring it back to that balance point because you know that condition. When it's out of balance, you know that your condition is not the same. You want to bring it back. It happens almost automatically if you pay attention to your condition. And then even judging somebody, this prejudice is another big problem. The more, suppose I look at some guy and say, oh, this guy is useless. Automatically, I'm feeling that condition of uselessness, whatever I think is useless. My mind is out of balance, right? So the prejudice is is a very deeper impression. And situations, I mean, always there could be health situations, there could be wealth situations, family situations. They always take us out of balance. But if you give a lot of importance to that situation, then you cannot feel the divine presence because your mind is glued onto the other situation. Then it is feeling the condition of that situation, the frustration, the emotional stress it brings into you. You have to go through it. So this is an attitude. Meditation doesn't bring this automatically. It tells you this is your balance point. Once you understand your balance point, you have to come to that balance point cognitively. You have to make that suggestion to yourself, hey, I'm coming back to my balance point. Yes, I know things are going wrong in the other way. Let me come to the balance point and look it from the state of balance rather than going out of balance and trying to deal with that situation. So it's an attitude we have to develop. A lot of times reading this paragraph, people think that meditation will automatically bring that balance into you. No. If you want to fall off the bicycle, you can do it 100 times. It's your choice, right? So the choice is always ours. There's no one controlling your life. If control is not the spiritual thing, why do we think a master or God or somebody is controlling our life or correcting our life? No one is doing it. We have to do it ourselves. If you understand this, then we'll also have to adjust our attitude, our perception to things outside ourselves and inside ourselves. It's very essential. Okay. So I'll just read this paragraph and then we can get into meditation. Kindred feelings. During this phase, you feel like meditating more. You may also feel like taking more sittings. These are welcome signs. See, the sittings, taking sittings regularly is very important. Somehow do it, make it possible for yourself. Lot of times, we attend some randomly group sessions and this and that, but then it's not, you're basically doing a window shopping here. But if you want to be serious about it, take regular sittings, weekly ones or weekly, every 2 weeks, if not monthly ones at least. But get engaged yourself so that this kind of, it's a continuous process, correct? So in this continuous process, we have to get engaged. If you're not getting engaged, then it becomes a, there is no, you don't see, reap the fruits of this meditation. So others who are on the spiritual path feel like kith and kin. You feel camaraderie with them and feel like spending more time with those who share similar goals. The motherly qualities that develop in you make a caring person. So, I mean, this, why? Because when you have the equal mindset, like this is a common thing. Suppose, me like an Indian, when I come here, the first person I see at the grocery store is, if it is an Indian, I'll go introduce myself. Because when you kind of find certain similarities, you're automatically gravitate, you establish some trust in that person even without knowing that person. Suppose I go to Paris and somebody speaking in an American accent, not say on the phone says, "Oh, I am from Florida." You immediately connect with that guy. You tell that guy, "I'm also from Florida." And there are a lot of other people on the flight. You don't connect with them. So when there is certain familiarity brings certain trust.
I have a little question about that. Okay.
Yes.
We 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 say all men and women are my brothers and sisters. Let us be united, correct? And yet, if I go to the gas station and someone comes the other way and I feel like I went the right way, I went with the arrows, and they
Yes.
start yelling at me, "Hey, I was going to gas up here." I said, "You went the wrong way." I
Yes.
cannot say that I feel very brotherly towards that other person
No,
at that time.
no,
Or
true.
a person who runs through a stop sign and then blames me.
Right. Even between the real brothers and sisters, that love, affection and love is not there. Each has their own personality and individuality. But as we expand, like I said, right, as we are expanding, as we understand that I'm going out of balance whenever I get into any even emotional conversation, I kind of balance myself. I center myself. The moment we center ourselves, now it's not the question of who is wrong or right. I accept that they are wrong and I am right. But at the same time, it is their ignorance for them to be in the wrong side. I even empathize, sympathize with their ignorance rather than get mad about it.
I
But
will say that
that
meditation has
situation,
allowed me to rebalance
correct.
relatively fast after that compared to in the past.
Yes, that's what exactly happens as you become more and more spiritual. So then you hit the balance point, but yet sometimes you have to still yell at the other guy to control. I said, control is required in outside transactions. Some control is required. You cannot give up that control. But when it comes to inner connection, you have to give up all that.
Okay, thank you.
So we are doing both at the same time in your situation. All right. So we'll stop here. Thank you, Cliff. And let's get into meditation.